cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in too. It's time again to cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in too. It's the number one podcast. The topics of discussion when we broadcast. So all them artificial man jokes, we do it natural from the concrete to a public standpoint. Real, wherever you from, life is coexistence, but to know the real, you just gotta listen. Wherever you from, life is coexistence, but to know the real, you just gotta listen. It's time again.
What up, y'all? You tuned in to the 52 Scott Podcast. This is Music Monday, and I'm your host, Slash. And with me, I got Comedian 96, K Money, Freddie G. Together, we are the Mind of Men. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, 52 Scott Podcast, on Instagram and Facebook, The 52 Scott Podcast. Welcome back, and thanks for stopping in. So if you're a musician or an artist, and you might know an inspiring artist, you might be wondering why they not on yet, or why you can't make the money off your craft the way you want to. Well, the reason for that is because it's oversaturated. You know, the industry is oversaturated, and it's a lot of artists, doing the same thing. It's a little easier to market yourself, so that's one reason why it's kind of oversaturated. But yeah, this is rap and R&B. I once heard Willie D say, and I want to shout out to Willie D of the Ghetto Boys. Shout out.
Oh yeah.
I once heard him say, it's a million rappers, but it's not a lot of rappers with $1 million.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the main things I heard him say. I was like, wait a minute. You know what you right?
That's real shit.
So, and out of 1 million rappers, I would say it's only 1% of that's really making the money off of their records or streams. However they market themselves. It's only like 1% that may really have the money that they talk about, And you know who those are. Those are the popular ones.
Yeah.
But not to discredit the ones that's not on, because you got some good artists out here that can't get on because it's oversaturated. And they may not know the path, or they may not have created a path that's going to work for them to get to that mainstream level. And when I say mainstream, I mean basically where your music is streaming on the Amazons, the iTunes, the Apple Music. You can make revenue off of that, but that market is oversaturated also, because you can go and download any artist. Man, there's millions of artists.
Yeah, it's totally different. Not to cut you off, Slash, but it's totally different than it was, 10, 15 years ago. And it's you have to blame, the internet.
That's right.
Social media. Not social media, I'm sorry, but the internet, like you said, there's different platforms that folks can promote themselves and try to do it. And some are successful at it and some aren't.
Not. Yeah, I agree.
I think a lot of people, most of the rappers today, they're doing the same thing. There's no gimmick behind how they rap or what they do. I mean, it reminds me of back in the day, there was a movie called Trading Places. Eddie Murphy was on a train, and he was acting like he was an African, and they were rapping.
Right.
And they were rapping, shibba-da, 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 huh, shibba-da. You remember that scene? That's how everybody rap now.
Right.
So, and then, on top of that, they're not even talking about nothing. They don't have a story to tell. They're not, when they rap, it's about cars, clothes, girls, jewelry. That's it.
And let me just make sure you saying that you feel like it's too many of them with no content.
No content.
Right.
I second
just
that.
They just think, hey,
right.
Let's talk about car, clothes, girls, and money, and everybody gonna jump on it. And as long as it got a nice beat to it, then we good.
So.
And everybody falling for that.
So even a lot of them sound alike. The beats are the same.
Yeah.
That's what's oversaturating the industry. These are some of the key factors that's saturating, these artists out here.
Yeah, because I can't tell I'm going to be honest, even they even started to look alike too, because honestly, I can't tell the difference. It's not much difference to me with NLE Chopper and shout out to both of them. They both great rappers. NLE Chopper and the other guy, NBA Youngboy.
Let me get this straight. You saying the rappers are starting to look alike?
They even starting to look alike too.
You mean as far as style and fashion?
I think everybody's styles are the same.
Yeah.
No one's really. Even the older artists that were even in our generation, they're starting to rap like the younger generation,
right?
Instead of keeping their stilo that got them to what they are,
right?
You're trying to get with the young. Why?
Yeah,
to make them feel relevant, I guess, in this day and age.
But what I not to cut you off, but I think is originality.
Yeah,
is a must. No matter what the style changes to or whatever, that you have to be able to reinvent yourself. Not saying you have to go to a dumber down sound as far as I'm not going to be as lyrical. I'm just going to, everything you hear is going to kind of be, pretty much basic rhyme, but you have to be more versatile and you have to be able to reinvent yourself.
Right.
To fit in with what's going on, but you still got to be original. You can't come out sounding like Future or all the young ones right now. The Baby. You can't come out sounding like him.
Yeah. See, he had a different. Man,
he was different.
He was different. I hope he. Man,
yeah, he
shout out to the Baby. I hope you come on.
He stood out, which is what made him hot.
Yeah.
When you heard. He didn't have his beats was different from everybody's. He'd have his own little grooves to his beats. So whoever was on his production team was fitting his style.
Yeah.
With the beats.
Yeah.
Which is necessary in order to get out of the saturated phase and start getting noticed and able to make money off your music.
And he was telling stories too that you could understand.
And he was telling stories. And he was about that life, you know what I mean?
I agree.
So when you live that life, you're about that life. I mean, it don't matter. Like from Mary J. Blige when she was that My Life album, which is shout out to Mary J. That was the album of the century to me. That from R&B Mary J. Blige, My Life album to the Baby album, it's gangster rap. He be considered gangster, but he lived that life. So he can talk about it.
Right.
Bootsy, same thing. Shout out to Bootsy. So whenever you actually done it, you can tell that story.
Right.
So for the people that cannot tell that story, it's just you have nothing to talk about. So you just talk about what's popular, and then sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't. But and everybody doing it, trying to do it all at the same time, from younger and older, it's just being oversaturated.
But
I think TikTok also contributes to that, because if these youngsters get a dance on, it's gonna hit TikTok and that's gonna help promote that song.
Social media every time.
So that definitely helps and contributes to it, and all it takes is just one.
Right.
But I know that definitely contributes to it being saturated as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Once it go viral, but that's just for the masses. But let's think about the ones that's really good at their craft that you can actually go and listen to, or you might know this person. So they good, but they just can't get on. What is the issue? Would it be financial issues? Sometimes it possibly is. Because what I know from, I guess, the 90s, most of what was going on was basically you had to fund your advertisement and pay for your promotions and your radio and all of that kind of stuff. Well, now it's different because you don't have to pay for that. Like, this is what you had to do before social media. Now it's a little less expensive because you don't have to do that. So
social media makes it a lot easier.
Social media makes it easier to brand yourself.
Yeah.
Which is another reason, again, why I say the business is oversaturated, because not because you're good, but just because you can, you putting yourself on here,
Yeah. This is just kind of funny to me. There's a lot of oversaturated TikTok twerking, right? but every booty not the same. I hate to use that as an example, but every booty's not the same. Everybody's one small, one slim, one's tall, one's skinny. So it's oversaturated, yes, but we look anyway, and that's probably how some people
For entertainment.
purposes.
Entertainment, right?
So if you just by a view,
Well,
and if you
I
just-
look for entertainment. You may be looking for other reasons, Comedian 96.
well, yeah, but
So-
that's another story for another day.
So let me say this. So I see it a little differently. I think the music industry has always been saturated. In my opinion, that's why they come up with genres like R&B, pop, rap, country, blues, folk, etc. Right?
All right.
And I think that most of the artists today sound the same. Now, with that being said, I'm not talking about lyrical content. Lyrically, they're all saying the same thing. They're talking about love,
The same.
pain,
Yeah.
drugs,
Pretty much.
sex, heartbreak, killing, etc.
Yeah.
And we're talking. It doesn't matter whether it's R&B, country, blues, all that stuff. They're all talking the same thing, right? So I don't think it's the lyrical content. I think it's production. The production sounds the same. So let me take it a little bit further, go a little bit deeper. Like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, right? You had R&B groups like the Temptations. They didn't sound like the Four Tops. You had the Four Tops. They didn't sound like the Manhattans. Let's go to the solo artists. You had the Luther Vandross. He didn't sound like Jeffrey Osborne, and Jeffrey Osborne didn't sound like James Ingram. Michael Jackson didn't sound like Prince, right? Then you had the bands. You had Confunction. They didn't sound like Lakeside, and Lakeside didn't sound like Maze, right?
Right.
Then you had the rappers. LL Cool J. He didn't sound like Big Daddy Kane, and Big Daddy Kane didn't sound like Ice-T, right?
Correct.
Go to the rap groups, the Ghetto Boys. They didn't sound like NWA, and NWA didn't sound like Public Enemy, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of the artists today, they sound the same. And what it is that because they sound the same, they create the illusion that the game is saturated because they all sound the same. So I think that it's the production that makes it all sound the same. I know if I turn the rap song and I'm hearing the same track and whatever, it's like, damn, this sound like the other dude.
Yeah.
So like content wise, nobody's saying. I mean, everybody's saying the same thing.
Right, pretty much.
So I think the music industry has always been saturated.
Yeah, it's you can go and actually see how many people are, it's thousands of rappers on your stream site.
So, question, Freddie G, and not just to Freddie G, but to fellas, all three. You're saying that I get nobody sounds the same, but when there's a hot song out there, you don't feel that other musicians might make their want to sound similar to that just because it's getting that it's getting that publicity or it's getting that attention that they're seeking, especially if they hiding hungry and trying to make it.
Okay,
And they're not being successful, as Slash was saying earlier.
So let me give you an example. I understand your question, but check this out. Let's talk about Run DMC for an example. So Run DMC had a song called "You Talk Too Much and You Never Shut Up," right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they were a rap group.
Right.
There's another rap group that came out called Houdini, and they had a song called "You Got a Big Mouth."
Yeah.
They're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Sound totally different.
Right.
So I think that "You Got a Big Mouth" was inspired by "You Talk Too Much."
Now, but the difference in that example is now in 2023, you have a lot more people that they're desperate.
Right. Exactly.
So their sound would sound exactly just like I think you were mentioning earlier. You can hear one song and hear another song, and then you say,
Sound
"God, that
exactly
sounds just the same."
Yeah.
I think that the
You know, they were hip hop was that was the beginning of hip hop basically back then.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say is why that was more successful, I guess.
Well, when you say they sounded, they were, desperate.
Nowadays, I feel that they're more desperate.
I think that everybody, like when you're broke and you're trying to get on, you're desperate regardless. But I think that the artists back then, they really cared about not sounding like
Right.
the other person.
Right.
Right.
I agree with that.
But they can but the content, lyrically, they're talking about the same thing. There's
Yeah,
nothing
you're
you
right.
can talk about under the sun that hasn't been said.
Right.
Right.
So, but they cared about sounding different.
Right.
Versus today, and this is not just all rap. We're not really just talking about rap. You can get some of these R&B
R&B,
cats.
correct. Like
And
you
it-
say, country.
Yeah, and it's sounding the same.
Pop.
Well, back
right.
then they wanted to make things. Hey, I
Well,
don't want to sound like
because they
so-and-so.
knew originality was what was going to keep you in there longer. You know, your craft being original, like you could never recreate another Maze and Frankie Beverly.
Nope.
They'll never have
Never.
another group
Never.
ever sound like that. They made classical music. I mean, if you could saturate the market with music like that, wow.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's really good music.
That's
you
that
know?
feel good.
That's
music.
feel good music, and actually it's live instruments, so which makes it sound a lot different. Now the sound is basically just a computerized keyboard, drum
Yeah.
machine.
Nothing vinyl.
Yeah.
Sample. Vinyl
All your
worthy.
instruments
yeah.
on that
Yeah.
one keyboard.
You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing vinyl worthy. I think the last
Yeah.
vinyl worthy person was probably Jill Scott. That's it.
Yeah, so like even when you mention Maze, like the bands, but when you go back to like groups like the Temptation, the Four Tops, and the Manhattans, and
Right.
all these
Yeah.
other groups, they were just singing, man. They were singing, and they all had vocals, but the sound still was different.
It's different
It
from
was
now.
still different.
Yeah.
They were singing and dancing.
You cannot recreate that sound from those years of recording. You can't recreate because the equipment was different. Technology's changed.
Changed a lot.
So the way they using certain hardware now is different. It just won't get the same sound because reel to reel is what that older stuff was recorded on. It's like a 2-inch reel. Mm-hmm. You sit them on the racks and they both spinning.
At the same. Oh,
Like you got your separate tracks on there.
Okay. Like old school, I did see that. Well, I seen them when that Silk Sonic video first started off. Is that, that
reels.
They show those reels. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. Well,
Okay.
it makes the sound warmer because it's analog. Well, now since everything is digital,
Yeah.
it cleans up everything, which makes it too crisp sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, the original instrument ain't got no digital nothing to it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
analog.
It's
so
analog.
that sounds good. That's the actual sound. But when you take that sound and you put it in a machine to sample it, you've changed
Yeah.
slightly the actual instrument
Yeah.
that you sampling. You know?
I really believe, man, that the sound is why we think that why it seems like the music industry is saturated, but it's always been a plethora of musicians,
Yeah.
artists, even before rap. I mean, you had so many doo-wop groups back in the
yeah,
day.
Yeah.
that you
And
don't know of.
and they all sounded different. They all of those groups on Motown, man, they were all like groups, man.
Yeah,
yeah. Even Diana Ross. And
But
all
look
of
at
them
what
people.
you just said. They were on Motown. So that's a record label.
Yeah.
We got thousands now that never been signed to a label or nothing. It's so easy now to get
get
on there,
Yeah.
which is what makes it overly saturated because now they was on Motown. Motown did they promotions, all of that. I spent money. Well, now each one of us can have our own album and upload our album on all these sites. So for every one group back then, you got 10 artists uploading their music.
Yeah.
It's oversaturating whatever sound they doing. Rap, R&B, gospel. It's everywhere, you know. But it's some good ones too, though. You know, not to say it's not. And I think the good ones just need the right information, you know, to push themselves. You know?
Right.
I mean, it's almost like buying a lottery ticket though when they're promoting themselves that way, because we know once one of these big music companies or somebody that has long money gets a hold of what a piece of this music, then that's pretty much how they can get that big break and seen and heard and basically making in the music business, right? So in my opinion, like I said, it's just like pretty much winning a lottery.
Yeah. Hey, I want to take something back. I said something earlier. Said vinyl, because I like the vinyl sound, and I said Jill Scott. I want to take that back because I haven't heard all the artists, but I just came to me that I just thought about SZA and Jasmine Sullivan or two.
Oh yeah.
You could listen to that stuff on vinyl. So I do want to take that back, and I haven't heard all the artists, but a lot of people are getting away from that because of what you just said, the analog. That
the
takes
sound
that
is
part.
different.
Yeah, it takes that away.
Yeah, the sound is just different. It is what it is. You can't recreate that analog sound without pulling a sample of like some crackling noise, and put behind your music, because that's kind of like the old record sound, the old, I forget the LP sound.
Yeah.
But support your favorite artists. Do your thing, artists. Keep pushing. Let's get some good artists out here. Saturated with good music. We out. Peace. So that's all, y'all, for this edition of Music Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Come back tomorrow and check out True Tuesday with K Money. Hit that like button. Subscribe and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, The 52 Scott Podcast. On Twitter, @52 Scott Podcast.